few spots that we're keeping a close eye on. Of course, we're good right now. It is early in the morning. All of those early morning flights are just getting started. And of course, we don't have a lot of problems with some of our storms this morning. But as it goes in the summertime, we get to the afternoon and those delays where our storms are start to stack up. A few of those spots that we're watching. Charlotte, that could be a trouble spot today. Pittsburgh, another trouble spot. Chicago, I know we had so much trouble last week at both our Chicago airports. It looks like today, and at least starting off this week, we're going to be just fine. But it's not just, some of the airports that we're watching out for delays. We could see some problems out on the roadways. And with that, traveling from weekend plans, I know not everybody is back in school yet. So maybe you're traveling back from a long weekend and you're traveling through West Virginia or Virginia today. You have plans to. That's where we're seeing some problems with flooding this morning. In fact, we've already seen a few flash flood warnings where we've had observed flooding. This is an area, too, that we have, a lot of varied terrain, some mountainous terrain, and that always causes more problems when the rain comes down like it is this morning, fast and furious. So today along the 81 corridor, 64, 79, that's where we're watching for not only scattered showers, but also the potential flooding. We're already seeing it this morning. That will likely continue. Where we're expecting storms, Charlotte, that's going to be a spot, especially around rush hour this evening, that we're likely to see delays stack up, and it's going to be kind of stressful to drive through a few of those storms. The I-95 corridor from Raleigh all the way out to the coast of the Carolinas, Kelly, Wilmington, up to the Hatteras Cape. We could be seeing some storms that perhaps could rain out a few of you. Welcome back into America's morning headquarters. Parts of Nebraska seeing some rain to greet you on this Monday morning, and that could lend to more showers and thunderstorms as we go throughout this afternoon. This is going to not just be one round of rain, multiple are possible today. Now, the second round, that could come with a chance for severe weather. And traveling today, some of the spots we're watching out for: Nebraska, of course, some of the Dakotas down through Kansas. Denver could see some delays at the airports, and what is not mentioned here on this map is, I think, Charlotte. We could have some troubles later today, so keep that in mind for your travel plans. We start you in South Dakota as well as Nebraska with some heavy rain moving towards Sioux Falls and Sioux City this morning. Omaha even seeing some rain and some heavy rain at that moving out, so don't forget the umbrella when you step out the door this morning. We will see some storms outlined in the red color that you see, that kind of lighter red across North Dakota, South Dakota, southern Nebraska, all the way down through Kansas and parts of Missouri. That's for later today. Omaha, we're starting off with the rain, as we just saw on radar. That starts to clear out as we get to the later part of the afternoon. It's possible that we see a second round try to sneak in. Even if we don't, the clouds will keep the cooler temperatures in place. Tomorrow, similar areas of focus, but now we're bringing it a little bit farther down to the south, say northeastern Oklahoma, Springfield, Little Rock, all the way down Jordan to parts of the Gulf. America's morning headquarters. If you're in the south and you're tired of the heat and the storms, we'll keep the storms around, but the heat, that's gonna go away towards the middle part and the later half of the week, all thanks to some cooler air that's going to funnel in for a lot of us. Today it's about the 90s and the triple digits, with some exceptions, that being North Carolina and South Carolina, where we potentially have severe storms, and that will also keep our temperatures down. So for Tuesday, the area that we're watching is from Springfield all the way down to, say, Biloxi, Mississippi, over to Mobile, Alabama. The storms and the showers, they fire up early for southern Mississippi, but then start to drift to the south, and we'll see a lot of storms blossom, of course, in those peak heating hours of the day. I would not be surprised if the storms that you see right here towards Mississippi, down towards Hattiesburg, Mobile, Alabama, those could produce a lot of rainfall in a short amount of time. Of course, with the proximity to the Gulf of Mexico, we have a lot of moisture to work with. When we get storms in this area, it typically pours, and it can add up very quickly. Wednesday, we'll do it all over again for many of the same areas, but this time we'll bring in more of the south. So Alabama, Georgia, even over into South Carolina, all in this zone potentially for stronger storms, with gusty winds really being our primary concern. Jackson, Mississippi is an interesting place that, we tell the story of what we see rainfall-wise in the summertime. Now, Jackson International Airport, you have seen 2 inches less than Hawkins Airport, and there's only about 18 to 20 miles separating those. It just goes to show you what happens in the summertime, where we can get a big rain shower in one area, and then, say 20 miles down the road, we don't see nearly as much rain. But every single day this week, we are expecting some type of wet weather to move in. adding to the totals that we already have. We will see a storm system that starts to move to the south. It gets a little bit stuck, and when it does, that's going to be the focus of those showers and thunderstorms, of course, with all of that moisture flowing up to the north from the Gulf of Mexico. And with that, we could see some heavy rain. It is going to keep temperatures down too, though. But Jordan, not everybody is back to school yet, so some of these beach plans, these are going to be areas not only just dry conditions in general, but Providence, Rhode Island is coming off its third driest July on record. Boston, fourth driest, and not to mention Boston's rainfall deficit for this year is approaching 10 inches of rain. We have a lot to make up at this point, and we need a lot to break us out of this drought. Some good news is that we are going to see some rain. It's not going to be the 10-inch deficit that we need to make up, but you have to start somewhere, right? This area of low pressure that's sitting over the Atlantic right now, that's going to move back towards the U.S., and with that, it's going to allow some moisture to swirl into areas like Rhode Island, which I know we're dry, Boston, and then up towards Maine, which we're also dry there, Vermont, New Hampshire, all these places that we could desperately use some rainfall. Boston, the timing for you, maybe some showers on Tuesday night, but I really think Wednesday is going to be the wettest day of the week. Once we get rid of the rain, then Thursday we are right back to the sunshine, lack of rainfall, hotter temperatures. You kind of get the picture that we're not going to quite get the rainfall that we need, but we're going to get some. It's very impressive, kind of in the worst sense, that how quickly the drought has been able to build in. So this is May 15th, just a couple of months ago, we didn't have any drought across the state, and now we're talking about 95% of the state is in some category of drought, of course, with the extreme being around the Boston area. Here's the timing for you. Again, late Tuesday night, some showers are possible. Providence, Boston, up through, coastal portions of Maine. That's where we're going to see the rain move in on Wednesday morning. It starts to lift to the north, and it sticks around areas, New Hampshire, Vermont, up through Maine. That's continuing through Wednesday evening. So I think Maine has the potential to be one of the bigger rainfall winners out of this. Even at that, Burlington will see at least 2 days that we have some rain. And all right, happy Monday and welcome back into America's Morning Headquarters. Summer is winding down quickly for some of us in the South. We're already back in school, but maybe you're perhaps taking some of those last few summer vacations. And if you're traveling by air right now, we're doing fine. It's still early in the morning. Of course, those first few flights have just started. As we get into the afternoon, that's when we start to see those afternoon summer storms bubble up, and it could cause some problems and some delays at our airports. Some of those areas we'll be watching very closely, Charlotte as well as Pittsburgh. Now, Chicago, I'll point out, you're in the green today after all of those problems that we had last week. It seems like day after day, Chicago was the focus of a lot of storms. So let's hit the roads now and show you if you're traveling by car, maybe you're coming home from some weekend plans, where you're going to run into some trouble. West Virginia, crossing the border into the state of Virginia, that's where we're seeing some pretty big problems with flash flooding this morning. We have some training of thunderstorms going on, a lot of available moisture in the atmosphere that's causing some pretty intense downpours and some observed flash flooding. Be careful out on the roads this morning. Those problems will likely continue into this afternoon with more rain on the way. The focus for severe weather today, Charlotte, I think that's another spot that we could see some problems at the airport, as well as Raleigh, the I-95 corridor, some really intense thunderstorms with gusty winds, localized flooding, and even the potential in the Charlotte area and parts of North Carolina that we could see maybe a spin-up tornado or two. It's not the biggest risk, but it's still a concern that we're watching out for. The activity really starts to move in for places like Charlotte as we get into the afternoon rush. Rush hour is going to be a little bit dicey in some of these spots with some of the heavy rain and the